I see a lot of debates online between people saying, no, the F-150 Lightning is going to sell the best because it's coming from an established automaker, or Rivian is going to take over the market because they were first and they're now well established in the electric truck space, or the Chevy Silverado has the better bed configuration. And I think everyone has a fundamentally backwards way of thinking about which electric truck is necessarily going to sell the best. It's going to be based on who has the best prices, or who has the best value, who has the best specs, who has the most range. And I think that everyone is missing the biggest factor that plays into what vehicle sells the best, and it really comes down to production capacity. Whether or not there's a ton of people willing to actually check a box and say, yeah, that's the one I would order, versus how many can actually be built and how many can genuinely be delivered to customers, I think are two fairly different questions. But if we are just talking about the specifications, I still personally believe the Cybertruck is going to beat out a lot of its competition, especially when it comes to overall range figures, with Tesla still targeting up to 500 miles of range with the quad motor option, which, similar to the R1T, is going to be rocking 4 separate motors, but also, like the Hummer, will be rocking all-wheel steering, which is pretty amazing on top of that. Plus, the supercharging access grants the Cybertruck an instant win over a lot of these EVs that are going to be relying on Electrify America, and by far being much less efficient than likely Tesla will be with the Cybertruck, just because of the emphasis they put on making it an aerodynamic design, the structural battery pack, which is crucial with this truck and doesn't seem to be even attempted in all of the other truck competition. But ultimately, even if the Cybertruck did not have the range numbers, even if it didn't have one of the bigger beds, even if it did not have the extremely durable and rigid exoskeleton, at the end of the day, I personally see Tesla prioritizing production capacity more so than any of these other automakers, which are likely relying on a lot of their legacy tendencies with mass production, like Ford is, or they're a startup that has never mass produced a vehicle before and they're not really sure how to scale up profitably. And after seeing the Rivian price hikes go back and forth, I'm still kind of questioning if this company can stay afloat, given they just kind of, in order to preserve their brand, gave out on $1 billion worth of revenue, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be unsold on the R1T now because of how much higher the prices are. But on top of that, Ford recently has actually turned off ordering on several of their Mach-E trims simply because of a lot of demand for the Mach-E, even though, yeah, a lot of people don't like that it was branded as a Mustang, and even everyday people can agree it doesn't really look like a traditional Mustang does. It doesn't matter if the vehicle is controversial. There's so many people willing to make the transition to electric vehicles right now, and the demand is so pent up, but Ford does not have the capacity to match it. That's why Tesla is still taking orders, even if they are backlogged. They're mass-producing vehicles faster and faster than they ever have before, and they plan on continuing to grow, because that's what Tesla's mission statement is all about, accelerating this transition to sustainable energy. And they apply that to every aspect of the business, not just in efficiency with manufacturing, but also in efficiency with design, making sure that there's as few parts and as few components as possible in their interiors, and even stuff under the hood gets minimized and shrunk down as much as possible. I encourage you to check out the Mach-E teardown versus the Model Y teardown that Sandy Monroe and the associates did over on their channel. Gives you perspective on how a lot of engineering work goes into Teslas to prioritize efficiency in both how much energy the vehicle consumes per mile, while simultaneously how quickly can these things be built. There's a lot of powertrain parts that get reused. There's a lot of electronics, displays, steering wheels, chips, doors, door handles, and all kinds of stuff that gets reused between models. And I think Tesla is absolutely applying that efficiency mindset towards Cybertruck production. So Ford, on one hand, is like, okay, we can't really make that many Mach-E's because we're limited by batteries or we're limited by chips, so they're going to start turning off reservations for models, whereas Tesla, they're designing the Cybertruck to be as scalable as possible by going all in with the exoskeleton design, which is all steel. There's no paint job to worry about, which means no variety with all these different kinds of paint that you have to worry about with pretty much any other vehicle on the road right now. It complicates the assembly line process, and it adds to the assembly line to have these very intricate and very complicated paint shops, and some people want a certain color and others want a different one. So you have to get specific with configurations when you realize, oh, okay, there's a lot of people that want the red Mach-E, or there's a lot of people that want the black or the white Mach-E, whereas Tesla gets to bypass all of this complexity with the Cybertruck and basically just have one interior style and one exterior style. And honestly, knowing how much pent-up demand there is for the Cybertruck, I would not be surprised if there's pretty much only one wheel or tire option to choose from, which, you know, startup companies that haven't mass-produced a vehicle before, like Rivian, have lots of paint colors to choose from and lots of of rims and lots of tire options, but they used to include several of those for free when ordering. Now that they're going through their production ramp, we're seeing them up the price across the board on all specifications, but also colors and tire options that used to be included are now charging extra. And I personally think these startup companies that are ramping up right now are discovering the hard lessons that Tesla already figured out, that when you have complexity, when you have this many options on the assembly line, it really just adds to the overall cost of manufacturing. And I could be wrong, but I personally think because Tesla knows there's so much pent-up demand for the Cybertruck, they're just gonna have one style of interior, one setup of speakers, one color, which will probably be black, and of course the 17-inch display, the yoke, that's it. There's not gonna be, or what about this one option that adds a couple extra speakers, or what about this one option that adds this? In terms of just the truck design fundamentally itself, I think they're going to simplify and streamline this as much as they possibly can. And sure, maybe at checkout they'll offer the camping package, but that's more of an accessory than it is an actual modification to the vehicle itself. And because the limiting factor with so much of these EVs being produced comes down to batteries, and Tesla has put such a tremendous emphasis on ramping 4680 batteries, and rumors are they've already built over 1 million 4680 cells, and later this month they're supposed to surpass their 2 million 4680 cell. Tesla is basically going to learn a lot at the Giga Texas facility this year about ramping up production and scaling up 4680 batteries, so that once Cybertruck production begins, they're gonna have a plethora of batteries to choose from, and that means they can scale production so much easier than the other guys because these individual cells are more energy dense, which means they don't need as many individual components as the other guys will that are using more traditional sized batteries, and they're using battery packs, not to mention traditional body on frame designs and lots of complexity between all of the separate like 4 interior trims that the F-150 Lightning is offering, all these different color options, all these different tire options, all these bed options and frunk options. Options are great for the consumer because some people want certain things and others want a different set of accessories, but they do complicate the assembly process. And just like we're seeing Ford close off reservations with the Mach-E, I think we'll see very similar things with the F-150 Lightning because demand is just too far off the charts, and they know they're not going to be able to match demand for a long time. Even if they are charging high prices and dealer markups get $5,000-$10,000 higher, and yes, the cheapest F-150 Lightning with the 300-mile range is going to cost over $70,000. So I don't think the Cybertruck is really going to be that much more expensive at the end of the day. Even if it is a $90,000 quad motor tier and that's the only thing they're building for a long time, Tesla is going to be able to build more of these models because of how simplified and easy the manufacturing approach is for them, and because they've ramped up 4680 battery production so quickly. Cybertruck will outsell its competition regardless of what the general public thinks is the best truck. Doesn't matter if most pickup truck buyers like the F-150 Lightning because it looks more normal, and that's what pickup truck buyers are used to. Ford will not be able to build as many Lightnings as Tesla will be able to build Cybertrucks, and maybe that should change the definition of outsell a little bit. Maybe we should say Tesla will outproduce the F-150 Lightning, but I do think that despite having this huge backlog of Cybertruck orders right now, that backlog will probably grow once deliveries officially begin and it's no longer a concept vehicle. It's no longer a prototype. It's actually on the road in customers' hands. People are using it for work, driving it around, and the cost benefits become real and the supercharger benefits become obvious. And once people start realizing, oh my god, this truck is so much more durable and so much more utility focused than everything else, and the wait times are probably going to be the best with the Cybertruck because Tesla will ramp up production faster than anyone else can, there will be another influx of demand. So there might be some of you that are doubting me right now, but I would highly encourage you to look at how the production and deliveries have grown for the Mustang Mach-E, which is already a fairly high-in demand vehicle, but the F-150 Lightning is even higher in demand, and that's going to require a crap ton more batteries because it's a larger vehicle and they're trying to get it to go over 300 miles on a charge, which Ford has kind of struggled to get the Mach-E to even do that. In order to get over 300 miles, you pretty much need to get the rear-wheel drive version of the Mustang, whereas with the F-150 Lightning, dual motor options are standard, so they want all-wheel drive on every version of the Lightning, which overall just means for its towing capabilities and its payload performance, this is going to need a crap ton of batteries, and they don't even have enough batteries to build the demand for the Mach-E right now. So I know Ford is actively developing, you know, more battery factories, and I'm sure GM is doing the same thing with the Silverado EV, but to get over 400 miles with that truck using what they called the Ultium battery pack, I'm still expecting it to be 200 kilowatt hours, and if the current battery output of GM has has anything to do with what the future holds for their pickup truck. The Silverado EV, as cool as it is and as much as I like it, it's not going to be produced at the same scale as the Cybertruck or probably even the F-150 Lightning anytime soon. Rivian, I think, is going to continue struggling ramping up production as they seem to not have figured out exactly how much it costs to build these things, and them flip-flopping on pricing is making me worried that, yeah, if you gotta spend $80,000 or $90,000 to get 300 miles on your truck, then the demand and the market for it might be a lot smaller, and Rivian's profitability is certainly in question along with all of this. So that's why just comparing production capacity and manufacturing efficiency between all these different electric trucks, I'm fully convinced the Cybertruck will outproduce all of them, even if it's not first. Yes, the Rivian has been delivering for several months now, but the numbers are so insanely small compared to what Tesla starts out with deliveries with. They typically don't even start deliveries until they can start them by like the 100 per day, and I'm expecting something similar from Giga Texas once it begins. And yeah, the F-150 Lightning is going to start deliveries in the next couple months, but again, because of how Ford has ramped production with the Mach-E, I don't expect it to be at extremely high scale for many, many years to come. So I'm predicting first Cybertruck deliveries, yes, will be next year, but they're going to be at extremely high volume, and they will probably out-deliver the Rivian and F-150 Lightning within the first 6 months to year of building, even if there are fairly expensive tiers because it's all going to be quad motor with over 400 miles of range. But hey, especially with towing taking a big hit on electric vehicle range and so many people wanting a good charger network to use their electric trucks with, I do think that there is absolutely a fairly large market for people willing to spend $80,000 or $90,000 on their Cybertruck. And you know, in recent tweets, Elon has even referenced several times that their biggest challenge with it is making it affordable and that it's relatively easy to make an expensive electric pickup truck. So I took that as Elon kind of saying, you know, we want to do this right, and we want it to be an everyday pickup truck that pretty much anyone can buy. It doesn't have to be like this Hummer holy grail of an electric truck design. It can be something that people use at the farm and can be priced similarly alongside the Model Y. And I think the efficiencies of the exoskeleton being the exterior while also holding the mass of the vehicle, combined with the structural battery pack underneath, is going to be what enables game-changing efficiency, game-changing supercharging speed, and more importantly, pricing it and making it cheaper to build than anyone else on the market. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments down below, because I probably ticked off a lot of traditional truck buyers in today's video, but that's honestly just how I see the situation now, and I would love to hear how exactly you think Ford, despite not being able to build more Mach-E's than Model Y's, is going to scale up to a larger vehicle that requires way more batteries and outsell Tesla, who's using these next generation manufacturing techniques. So let me know down below. Thank you to everyone supporting the channel over on Patreon. It seriously helps a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thank you all for enabling me to have this dream job. Take care and have a great day.